Alright, to finish this project, I'm going to be using a Micron 03 and a Micron 08, a Uniball Sigma white jelly pen, and a whole assortment of Cougar markers, which I'll have a complete list of at the end of the video. I start off the coloring by laying down the base colors, which will end up being the highlight colors. I will continue to add layers of progressively darker shades in order to build up the depth in the coat of fur.
Get ready for a deep dive.
And then here I'm using the best invention ever. It is a zero color Copic marker. It's basically just alcohol, and when you rub it over a color, it'll erase it almost. Kind of pushes it back in and blends it back into itself. And then here I'm giving texture to the fur. I'm coming back through with the base fur color, which is going to be kind of like a orangish brown, in order to add texture and layers and depth. I will then come back over it with a gray and some other dark colors in order to give it a little bit of shadow.
Get ready for a deep dive.
So going into the gray at the start of the finishing process of the picture, I'm going through adding all the shadows and using the gray as a blending tool to flatten out some of the fur and to make it more cohesive and a solid piece. And then this is one last touch up of all the darks to really bring up the contrast as much as possible with just color. And then I will come back through and give the real contrast with the ink. This step with the 08 Micron is one of my favorite parts. It makes everything kind of solidify on the page and make everything stand out the way that I want to. I try to go over all of the overlapping aspects of the piece to make everything more 3D. Once this outlining process is complete, I'll come back through one more time with an 03 marker in order to refine the edges, add a couple texture lines and some shadow in order to make everything stand out. In order to make everything feel cohesive, I keep my cross-hatching going in the same direction all the way down the animal, no matter where it is on the animal. It gives an illusion of the same color even though you're just using black. here I add the final detail to the fur. I could do this without the color, but I like using the color first in order to give myself some sort of texture to work off of, and then I just highlight the parts that stand out to me with the ink. And then here's my secret weapon. I use a white jelly pen to come back through and give some things highlights and to break up some of the darks in order to give it just that much more contrast. And there you have the final cat. Finished, all inked up, highlighted. And now we'll move on to the background. Alright, so then here I'm going to start working on the background. I use my straight edge and make sure I measure out a diamond that is equal so that it looks symmetrical and as close to perfect as possible. For the ink outline of the background, I'm going to be using just a regular Sharpie. It has a nice solid black color and it is thick enough to kind of make the background pop as much as possible. So for the background, it's going to be the same process as the cat drawing. I will go in with a pencil first, come back through with an 03 marker, come back in one more time after that with the Copics, color and shade everything, make sure everything's blended, and then I will go back into the final finishing process, which is all the really hard lines and white cover. Okay, the first step of the coloring is to come back in with all of the base colors. So I laid out greens, blues, yellows, and grays for the leaves, sky, grass, and rock. And then I'll come back in with a second color to give it a little bit of depth. And then comes in the final inking. This process is a little tedious, but I just have to take my time to make sure I get all the little pockets covered. The Copic marker ends up drying very smooth, so I don't have to worry too much about streaks as long as I get enough saturation of the color on the page. While coloring isn't my strongest suit, I do find it to be probably the most relaxing part of drawing. It's a little bit mind-numbing and allows you to cover some big areas with some color, make you feel like you're accomplishing something. And then as you come back in with the details, you can get some really nice looks without much work.
So I just finished putting in all the color and blending everything together. So I come back in one last time with an 08 marker, and I'm going to do all the overlapping lines like I did on the cat, just to make everything stand out and feel like it's in the same world as the cat. Then come back in one more time with an 03 and add all my finer details like dust in the wind and particles on the rocks and leaves. And then from there I'll add in the white marker to make him pop out and stand out from the background just that much more, and add the last final highlights to finish and make the project completely cohesive. And then here is the magic white line. I'll come back through, line out everything, and break him apart from the background to make him stand out in the foreground as much as possible. And that's going to be the finished product. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked what you saw. I'm going to be putting out more content as much as possible with this quarantine going on. Like and subscribe again, and remember, we have enough time and energy to do what we want and need to do.